My name is Patricia DeLeon and I attend All Saints University in the Commonwealth of Dominica. So this week we're going to be doing part 2 of my series about Jamaican medical pioneers that have contributed to the medical field and medical research. This part 2 is going to be on 3 more people. And remember, if you see me looking down every minute, it's the laptop. So this week we're going to be talking about Dr. Henry Lowe, Dr. Louis Grant, and Dr. Patricia DeLeon. So we're going to be starting off with Dr. Henry Lowe. He was born on April 9, 1939 in St. Andrew, Jamaica. He received his secondary education at the Calabar High School and then at the Excelsior High School. In his early school life at Calabar, he was not the best student. He preferred extracurricular activities more than his schoolwork, which, to be very honest, I don't think it's anything to crucify a student for in their early years when they're not as attentive as other students. I mean, they grow up and they do get mature, so it's not something for us to say it's the end of the world when maybe you're in grade 7 and you're not doing as well as your peers. You have time to get there. So every child is different, but he wasn't doing his best. Then when the senior Cambridge results came back, he did not pass them, so he was not able to continue at Calabar. So he had to leave Calabar, and then he spoke to a renowned educator at Excelsior. His name was Wesley Powell, and at first Wesley Powell rejected Dr. Lowe from attending Excelsior, but after we don't know why he ended up accepting Dr. Henry Lowe, but after he ended up accepting Henry, and then he went on to do very well at Excelsior. I think that was where he really found his true self at Excelsior, because he was doing exceptionally well, and he ended up going to the University of the West Indies, where he earned a Bachelor of Science, and then he went to the University of Sydney and he got a Master's of Science. Then he got his PhD at the Bolton Institute of Technology in England and his diploma in technical education at Harvard University and his postdoctoral studies at MIT. So this man is well accomplished, right? He began his early career as a teacher, and then he became a lecturer. Then he moved on to become an educational administrator at CAST, which is now called UTech, University of Technology. Then he made a big career change and he became a technical director at 4 different government ministries. Later, he became the CEO of health provider Blue Cross Blue Shield before launching Eden Gardens and Wellness Spa. So I did not know this. That when I was doing my research, I found out that he was the founder and owner of Eden Gardens Wellness Spa, and it is claimed to be the only all-purpose health and wellness facility in the entire Caribbean region. He believed that caring to one's wellness will be great for the well-being and enhance economic output in our country. So if you can take care of your mind, body, soul, then you would be more motivated to put your best self forward when you're working, which will generate a greater economic output in our country, which is true. That is true, because once somebody feels secure and healthy, then they're more likely able to give their best self in whatever they're doing. So after that, he discovered, so while he was doing all of this, He was doing research and he discovered several bioactive molecules from Jamaican medicinal plants, particularly the Jamaican ball moss. Henry Lowe, he made several discoveries from Jamaican medicinal plants which are being developed or which were being developed to help in cancer therapy, diabetes, and AIDS. And one particular plant that he was very successful in was the Jamaican ball moss. Now, this plant is a plant that grows on electrical wires. Is like is bush, like weed, like in Jamaica, normally the electrical company come and cut it down because it would be a hazard to people living close to these electrical wires. He is also the holder of several patents based on the areas of his research in chronic diseases. Along with Dr. West and Dr. Lockhart, Dr. Lowe developed the first commercial product from ganja, marijuana, for the treatment of glaucoma. Dr. Lowe holds many awards and accolades and is the only Jamaican who is a member of the prestigious American Association for Cancer Research. He established his first nutraceutical industry in the CARICOM region with significant financial potential for import substitution and the export market, which is a multi-billion-dollar market. Dr. Lowe is the founder and executive chairman of the EHF group of companies, which includes a private non-profit organization, Environmental Health Foundation, that was established in 1992 to enhance the quality of people's lives in Jamaica. Dr. Lowe has been a long believer in the medicinal benefits of marijuana. He has been speaking about this plant since the 70s. He did his doctoral thesis on examining the structures and activity relationship of some cannabinoids in ganja. He saw that there was real value in cannabis, but he did not only see the value in growing the plant, but he saw value in the secondary and tertiary products that could be produced from the plant. In 2013, he established Medicanja so that persons interested in this field could invest through an IPO. Now, an IPO is an initial public offering. So whenever there's a new company on the market, people are normally able to find out about this new company and invest in this new company through stocks by something called an initial public offering. So that's what he did, but this didn't happen easily because anything in Jamaica that you plan to do, anytime you try to do something that can be beneficial, it always get lit down. So, and more specifically because he was dealing with marijuana, and in Jamaica marijuana is such a taboo topic, but it really shouldn't be. I don't know why they make it such a taboo topic, but marijuana is not only for recreation. People use this in their daily lives to help them live a better life. But the company had a successful IPO in Canada, and he later expanded to North America, the Caribbean, Europe, and in Asia. He worked with his colleagues at Harvard University on a drone technology that will take the drugs he has for various forms of cancer directly to the cancer cells in a patient, causing no collateral damage or side effect like current treatment procedures for cancer. This breakthrough will be used for pancreatic cancer where there is no current cure. So Dr. Lowe, this is some very groundbreaking research that he's doing. So basically he and some colleagues at Harvard University are trying to create a drone technology for a drug that can specifically target cancer cells and not the surrounding cells. Because if you know what cancer is abnormal cell growth. So normal cells are just growing and dividing so rapidly and out of control that they form cancer cells. That is what cancer is. So if this drone technology that they're creating can make this drug able to only attack the cells that are growing abnormally and not affecting surrounding cells, that would be great, because that could eliminate certain procedures like radiation therapy and stuff like that. Because radiation, when people do radiation, they tend to have collateral change in their body. People lose hair, people lose weight, all these things happen because radiation therapy not only kills the cancer cells, but it also kills healthy cells. So if they can avoid that, that would be great. He also takes immense pride that he discovered that the ball mass on that grows on electric wires can be used to treat prostate cancer, skin cancer, and brain cancer. It is not a commercialized product, however, it is used and prescribed by many doctors. Next, we're going to be talking about Dr. Lewis Grant. And Dr. Lewis Grant is termed as the father of Jamaican microbiology. He was born on March 6, 1913, in Vere Clarendon, Jamaica. His father worked in a chemical laboratory at the Appleton Estate. As a student, he received the Virtuous Scholarship, where he attended Jamaica College. Then he attended Edinburgh University in Scotland. Later, he specialized in tropical microbiology at the London School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. He returned to Jamaica to serve as a medical doctor, microbiologist, and pathologist. In the 1940s, he decided to focus on tuberculosis, a disease that was plaguing Jamaica. He asked the WHO for a grant and began a vaccination campaign amongst Jamaican children, where he was joined by Dr. Ronald Lampard, where they had mass vaccination, which significantly reduced the spread of this disease. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but sidetrack, if you want to get tested, so if you're traveling to a country that needs you to do like a tuberculosis test, they call it a Mantux test. But if you need to do it, you can go to Chest Hospital and do it. FYI. A lot of people don't know that. So if you want to do a tuberculosis test, or if you're required to do it, you can do it at Chest Hospital, and it's not more than 1,500. If you're not a student. If you're a student, I think you pay like 600. If you're not a student, you pay 1,500. So you don't have to go to no private place and pay one bag of money. You can go to Chest Hospital. FYI. Back to Dr. Lewis Grant. So in the 1960s, he became a full-time professor of microbiology at the University of the West Indies, Mona. He decided to focus on 3 diseases affecting Jamaica: leptospirosis, dengue fever, and equine encephalitis, which affected horses. Dr. Grant discovered that leptospirosis was spread through the contact from urine of infected animals. He discovered that rats were immune to this virus because they weren't showing any symptoms of being ill. So this made rats major carriers of leptospirosis. Then, since there is no cure for leptospirosis, Dr. Grant quickly spread the word by cautioning kitchen staff and people of the dangers of leaving food exposed, because if you leave food exposed, rats can come in, pee on the food, you use the food, and then boom, leptospirosis. Okay. Then he went on a public education campaign to make people be aware of the dangers and how leptospirosis is spread, and it was very successful because it caused a drastic reduction in the amount of people getting leptospirosis. Okay, this method is still used to this day of spreading information that Dr. Grant heavily relied on by informing the public in Jamaica. In the late 1960s, Jamaica was suffering from a strange fever that where it was just killing people. People just had dropped boom, left, right, center like fly, you know? He identified it as the dengue virus and concluded that it was spread through the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Some mosquitoes that carried yellow fever. He led another public education campaign that is still used in Jamaica today. If you live in Jamaica, you know what I'm talking about. Every single time, rainy season time, dry season, you always see Ministry of Health come out and say, if you have any containers, you need to turn it out. If you have containers with water, put oil in it to kill the larvae. If you have tires with water in it, poke holes in the tires. It's still used to this day from the 1960s. So just to show you that methods that he has created to help us as Jamaicans reduce the amount of cases, because there's no cure for these diseases, is still used to this day. And then in the mid 1960s, the Eastern Island was being riddled with a disease that was affecting the horses. Professor Grant instituted a quarantine on the movement of horses, donkeys, and mules. After thorough investigation, he discovered the animals were suffering from equine encephalitis. This couldn't be spread by humans, but it could damage the Jamaica's horse industry, and he was named the horse savior after his discovery. He retired from the University of the West Indies in the 1970s and moved to Canada. In 1974 to 1977, he served as Associate Medical Health Officer for the Niagara Regional Health Unit. In 1977 to 1984, he acted as Medical Officer of Health for Haldimand Norfolk Health Unit. He became an active member of the Ontario Public Health Association and Canada Public Health Association. He gained recognition and was able to attract funding to fulfill his lifelong dream to have public clinics for low-income Jamaicans. He returned to Jamaica, bringing many scientists who served at reduced cost or no cost at all to help in his clinic his clinic called Foundation for International Self-Help in the Papine area in 1985. Dr. Grant passed away in 1993, and a 1,000 Canadian dollar scholarship and a one-year membership of the Ontario Public Health Association in his honor for postgraduate education in community or public health. So that was Dr. Grant's biography. And Dr. Grant, in my honest opinion, he contributed a lot to Jamaica because his methods are still being used to this day. So we need to thank Dr. Grant for that, and we need to recognize these Jamaicans because they don't get much recognition in schools. Because if schools had these things, I would have been better off knowing about these things in high school or in primary school. If it's even to dedicate one day to us learning about these people, that would be good. And finally, we're going to be talking about Dr. Patricia DeLeon. Dr. Patricia was born July 13, 1944 in Port Maria, Jamaica. After graduating from the University of the West Indies with her Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry and Zoology in 1967 and her Master's of Science degree in Medical Genetics in 1969, Dr. Patricia enrolled at the University of Western Ontario and graduated from there in 1972 with her PhD degree in microscopic anatomy before completing postdoctoral studies in cell biology and cell genetics at McGill University in 1975. Her career as a reproductive geneticist began 52 years ago when her doctoral studies used cytogenic techniques to investigate if aging spermatozoa led to chromosome abnormalities in resulting conceptuses. Now, for all the non-medical minds out there, I may have just scrambled their brain, but don't worry, I'm here to explain. So basically, Dr. Patricia, she's a geneticist, and a geneticist is somebody who they do research, they find out about genetic problems in utero. I hope I'm doing it correctly. So she did a research on if spermatozoa is sperm. So man produce sperm, woman egg. Alright? So she's trying to find out if old sperm can cause chromosomal abnormalities. No, it is true. It does cause chromosomal abnormalities. So the older the sperm, the more likely the child that is being developed in the uterus will have some sort of abnormal defect. It's just a fact. Like, you don't shoot the messenger. It's just a fact. So it's not only, so when a child is born and there's something wrong with the child, sometimes it's nobody's fault. Like, sometimes these things cannot be prevented, and sometimes they can. So it all depends, and most of the time, 90% of the time, when a child is born with abnormal defects, nobody really knows why it happens. The mother can do everything right, the father can do everything right, they can eat right, do everything right, and the child can still be born with some type of defect. So most of the times it's unknown, but her research was to say that aging spermatozoa can lead to chromosomal abnormalities, and one big example is achondroplasia. So achondroplasia is someone who has a growth defect where they are smaller or shorter than average height. That is what achondroplasia is. And one research is that older males can cause their child to have achondroplasia. Continuing on to Dr. Patricia DeLeon, she acquired cytogenic techniques at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica, where she did her master's and undergraduate studies. She worked with Evelyn Shaver at the Western University in Canada, where Murray Barr had discovered the Barr body. She did this test on rabbits to see if their aging sperm can cause to chromosomal abnormalities, which it did. She has gained many notoriety and recognition for her discoveries with her team, and this wasn't without problems, because at first she was turned down for her funding in her research, but she had to seek outside help. But she didn't stop, because she knew that her work was important and her work proved to be true. So this is the ending of the video, and I thank you all for staying with me and learning something new. I know that it's a little bit overwhelming, especially many of you maybe don't understand some of these stuff that I'm talking about, but at least you have an idea or know of these Jamaicans who have helped and contributed to medicine, not only locally in Jamaica, but internationally as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video and you've learned something new. And join me next week, where the final, not next week, about 2 days from now, because February is ending soon. Join me next time where I talk about some more Jamaicans who have contributed to the medical field. Thank you once again. Please share, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you learned. Tell me something that was new that you learned, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.